Hello, everyone. It's Michael Jaco with Unleashing Intuition Secrets of President Trump. Not only is he going to make quicker action forces within every state within the National Guard units, but he's also going to send, as he just said, the National Guard into Chicago. Right. So he had a news conference today around 2 Eastern Time. Put out a lot of stuff. He's moving the Space Force. I guess it was moved to Colorado. They had recommended during his term that it would be in Alabama. So Biden, being a Democrat and hooking up his Democrat baddies in Colorado, now all that money wasted is going to bring them all the way back to Alabama, where they belong. Sweet home, Alabama. So it's going to be, a lot more of that going forward. We've also seen how President Trump has said that he is going to basically dissolve all of the auto pen signatures for pardons for all those people. So we're going to start to see, like we've talked about, the arrest. All right, the arrests are coming. I believe they're coming towards the end of October. Just recently, he signed an order having 600, prosecutors or lawyers or whatever for the Department of Defense. They're going to start to, speed up the process of getting rid of illegal aliens. So 600 lawyers within, the government. And that's very interesting because we've seen, how the deep state has inserted lots of, very bad baddies in the Justice Department, so it's going to be another workaround. So we're going to have 600 lawyers and judges. I think they're judges actually, that are going to be, starting to move things along. All right, move the illegal aliens out, and who knows? A lot of those judges, military judges, will probably be part of a lot of people being prosecuted that have done lots of crimes in America. Right. So that's military tribunals coming not just in Guantanamo, but to a city near you, all right? Especially when the National Guard moves in to some of these cities. They're going to start to prosecute these people on a very fast pace. They'll start with the illegal aliens because that's how they can start this process more smoothly. But eventually, it will move into prosecuting, people to push the COVID-19 lie. Fauci is like, I think Fauci's already been done. He's gone. Probably Bill Gates is gone. So a lot of these earthquakes, 6.0 in Nevada. Yeah. So getting close to home. So a lot of people have asked me. Said, "You're gonna be able to survive on that little piece of land that they say there's only gonna be left in Nevada?" And I'm like, I think we got a ways to go yet. So that's not going to happen overnight. And as we move forward, we'll see more of that. Do I move my ear and the camera moves around? Jeez, we'll go back. So anyway, we'll probably see a lot of problems going forward with the Earth, guys. All right. So it's definitely, I'm going to talk about that in detail. Catastrophicism was taken away by the CIA and other groups through time, and it's coming back because it's part of what reality is. Every 6 and 12,000 years, of course, 12,000 years specifically back during the last major cataclysm is when Atlantis was lost, and the poles shifted, all kind of crazy stuff. So it is something that is real. We'll talk about that. We'll go into detail. I'll show you where the safe areas are and where the not safe areas are. All right. But first, let's see what President Trump had to say.
Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker ramping up the threats to send federal agents and National Guard troops to Chicago, saying this afternoon, we're going in.
Made your mind up on Chicago, though?
Well, we're going in. I didn't say when. We're going in.
Well, Well, the president pointing to gun violence in the city over Labor Day weekend. 8 people were killed, more than 50 were injured. But Pritzker pushes back, and he calls any plans to send federal officers, quote, un-American, and saying that troops don't belong on the streets of American cities and that there is no emergency in Chicago. Joining me now with more is our ABC News senior policy.
All right, so yeah, 8 people were killed and 50 people were wounded by gunshot violence. But yeah, there's no problem in Chicago. All right, so this is going to be the talking point for these evil Democrats, demon rats. They're going to continue to, claim that there's no violence in their cities because what else can they do? All right, they lie. They're satanic, and that's what they do. So demon rat has to do what a demon rat does: lie and steal and all the crap they do. So they'll continue to do it until they're completely gone, right? And like I've said, the Democrat Party would be completely gone. I've been saying it for a while, but you're going to see. All right, it's starting already. So what was that? So Crystal Hawk, you said, Mike, please tell me what happened to Florida. Nothing's happened to Florida yet, all right? But it's low lying, and as you're going to see in my presentation, it's not going to fare well going forward. So, all right. So now is it going to be like soon? It's going to be progressive, of course. I saw that with Hurricane Helene. That was like my wake up call, right? And we know Hurricane Helene went up into, I was just talking to a gentleman last night, and both of us many years ago were looking at North Carolina. What's the mountain area? Not Aspen, but what's that area got hit real hard in the mountains of North Carolina? Anyway, I was looking at buying land and a home up there. You could get it super cheap for what you could anywhere else. And so I've been looking at this catastrophic coming time frame for quite some time. But the when it happens is always been a problem. So I like to get ahead of things and get settled before these things start to happen. So that's kind of where I'm at on a lot of this stuff. Appalachia will not fare well either because of the devastation that will happen devastation will happen, like tsunamis are going to happen on both coasts, and they've happened in the past. You guys are going to see that this is not some like fly by night. Okay, maybe this is going to happen. This information has been massively suppressed, and it still is massively suppressed. But it is Asheville. That's it. Thank you, Janet. So very, very beautiful area, but it got absolutely hammered by Hurricane Helene. What are the odds? A hurricane would go all the way up into the mountains of North Carolina and cause that much damage. Zero. Right? So there's manipulation and so forth. So it is some of that manipulation is part of their game too. They want to take out as many people as possible. Now, when I think that they have built massive underground facilities in anticipation of this. We know I've put a lot of stuff out there how the billionaires are building underground facilities because they know it's coming. They know, all right, they're in the know. I'm in the know, all right, because I figured it out, and I've done my research for decades upon decades upon decades. Plus, I'm an intuitive and a remote viewer, so I see these things. Now, timing is definitely demonic town, Asheville. Yeah, yeah. When I started looking deeper into Terry Oliver, yeah, when I started looking deeper into Asheville, I was like, whoa, good thing I didn't move there, right? I would have been like in survival in the witch's cauldron, right? So probably I would have ended up probably in the witch's cauldron too. So there's going to be places where you're going to be safe for a period of time, and then you're going to need to move and be so you can be safe in another area because the poles will shift. They've shifted in the past. And I'm just gonna lay all that out for you guys right now. So this is going to be your go-to video. Of course, there's other people that are putting this out, suspicious observers. A great guy that has been putting out this information. Extremely accurate. I'm going to use a lot of his information. I'm going to direct you to his information for more information going forward. So it will be top of a mountain, but it's top of a mountain which will actually freeze. And when you're up there for 10 years, you're going to be able to get food. So, yeah, this could last a while. So there's going to be lots of. I live in Northern California up by Mount Lassen. I am very safe here. Yes, that's a good area. So the Crystal Hawk. So there's lots of good areas, but like I said, some will change over time. The equator will move. Looks like it's going to be, going through Canada in the future. And some of the places that are basically on the equator right now that's where the poles will be. So we'll look at that as well. So lots of good information. This is where I'm going to just dive into all that. So let's start with, you guys know that there's been some energies that have been coming into the Earth. Now, this is Kilauea. This is the 32nd eruption of Kilauea. I predicted that Kilauea would wake up. It awakened after I said it was. It didn't have the big earthquake that I said it would. The last time that Kilauea woke up, many, many years ago, I predicted like to the day when it would have its major earthquake and eruption. And this one has been a little bit tricky. But, 32 eruptions. So it'll erupt like you're seeing it right now. And then it will shut down. It'll build up and then erupt again. So as you guys can see, where this cone is, there's 2 or 3 different vents now. So they have really released energy upwards. But it seems to me now they're really pumping out. So here's the different vents that are like starting to open up. And see, all of these are dumping lava. So we're very close to the rim now. So as you see it right here. So that rim, once that rim, this lava, starts to build up higher and higher and higher. Once it gets obviously to the rim, it's going to start to pour down. It's going to go down into the towns, right? Like you see there. So right now the vent is impeded. That's why it's not like rocketing, 1,000+ feet into the air. But it is, as you can see, pumping out a lot of lava, right? So right there, this is really close to the rim now. I think a few more eruptions, and we're going to see this thing start to spill over the side. And it may continue. Instead of like shutting down at some point, I believe it's probably going to continue and keep going. This is 2 pineapples. He does a really good, he follows the eruptions really well, so he's a good one to follow. But there's many of them out there, right? So let's look over here. Let's look at this live angle. So that's kind of a cool angle too. So you see that vent that's in the back is spraying pretty good as well. So there's the rim. Yeah, probably several more eruptions like this before we start to see it spill over. Will it fill the whole basin? At some point, I think it will. It has obviously in the past, but we could start to see a little bit of spillover before it fills the whole basin. At the rate that it's going right now, it's going to take a long time. I think it's going to really start to kick in. Now, the reason why it kicked in again is because we just had another geomagnetic storm come out off the sun. Now, we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that, how that is going to continue going forward. And it's probably going to be quite significant, the energy that we're going to have coming off the sun going forward. And we're going to talk about that as well. And this is one of those things that if you're paying attention to the information, this is Observer Review. You can subscribe to this, like a little over $5, I believe, a month. So it talks about the sun and the Fed. So a relationship between natural phenomena and human activity has been the topic of interest for us. So they're looking at all of these solar cycles, and they can see going back 50 plus years that there seems to be a predictive, coordinated predictiveness with the sunspot activity and the Fed funds rate. So while the rate for 2026 is expected to decline, which it is, it also relates to the amount of energy coming off the sun. So very, very fascinating. Now, other things that talk about is your health, how the reduced capillary blood flow and altered mental states during geomagnetic extremes. Boy, have we not been seeing that. All right. So a lot of cray-cray going on right now with these increased solar activity that's going on. It's not going to slow down. It's going to intensify. So you're going to see the cray, and that's why we need troops in these cities, guys. The cray-cray is going to go off the charts from where it is already. And then there's other things that are going to happen. Gold price, which, I'm going to talk about right after this. Gold price and silver price fluctuating and actually going up with the sun activity going up. Economics, like to talk about health, murder rates going up here in the United States and in Europe, of course. Civilization in the sun, grand time frames like we're going to start to talk about here, and how there's been an up and down pattern depending on how much solar activity there is. So incredible amount of information that's coming your way. You're going to see the correlation with a lot of this stuff and how it relates to our world. All right, so let's look at also what's happening with gold and silver. All right, so gold and silver, I'm going to show you guys the long term for silver prices and how we're in a grand cycle for silver. All right, you see this is a monthly chart of silver going back to 1980. So see where my line is right there? That line basically is giving you just where we're going to be going. What did I do with my piece of paper? Dang it. A piece of paper here with all my notes. Yeah. So basically, if you look at all the way back in 1980, 4150, 59, I think, 4152 was a high, monthly high, pretty much a daily high, going all the way back to, I think it's November. Let me see. That's January, actually. 1 January. So 1 January, we hit a high all the way back then, which was an all-time high here in America of 41, and something. Here's my notes. All right. Thank you. All right. So the high was 4152. So where are we at today? So as we're speaking, it's fluctuating somewhat over here. But as we're speaking, it's 4166. At one point, it was 4199.5. And that's obviously it's getting ready to take out 42. So really, silver is taking off now. If we look at the long-term situation with silver, you see it reached 50. 50. What was it? 50. We'll just call it 50. Now, in a cup and handle, so you see this is one massive cup here, and this is one massive handle. So a cup and handle pattern. Some people are saying this is a double cup. Here's a cup. There's a cup everywhere. A cup, right? So a double, maybe even a triple if you look at it. Double, and I would say even a triple cup, and that's amazing. So if you go all the way back to the low, and this is how you measure where this is going to go, this massive cup and handle pattern. The low was 350 for silver, all right, and the high being 50. If you take that and divide 350 into 50, you get 14.28. So if you take the breakout point, now there's a couple different breakout points that I'm looking at. Some people are saying where we're at right now is a breakout point because that's the old high going back to 1980. I'm of the opinion that it's going to be the very top of the cup at $50. So I've measured both of them. One is a little over $600 if you measure the 1980 high, and the other one, if you measure the 1911 high of 50, and you take that 14.28 and you multiply that into the 50.27, which is what you do with the cup and handle pattern, you get $717.85 for the projected high for silver. Now, people have said, I've heard people say 1,300, all kinds of crazy numbers. But, I've been talking with Dr. Kirk Elliott for a long time. He was very conservative because I was like, I think it's going to go way into the triple digits. And he was like, it'll be like, around 100 something. And he said that for years. And then we did a show together. And he said like $1,550 something. I was like, what? So it's like, wow. You went from one extreme to the other. But I mean, look at 700. That's a pattern that this is showing. Now, if there's some kind of double pattern here with the double cup or triple cup that we need to take into account, maybe we are looking at $1,000 or more. Crazy. But regardless, if you have 100,000, thousands of ounces of silver, you're going to look at, like we've been saying, generational wealth. Now, what could make this thing take off is what we're seeing, the collapse of economies, and that's where we get back into this, grand cycle of the Earth going through earth changes. Once those really start to kick in, which I think they've already started, then it's going to be, the economies are going to collapse. Civilizations will collapse, especially when they're basically obliterated by super volcanoes, like we're seeing at Campo Flegrere. I predicted that would be a super volcano that would blow and really hammer the heck out of Europe. So, and then there's another one that's going to happen somewhere in the Pacific. I'm not quite sure. A lot of people say or have said that the super volcano in Yellowstone was going to go. I don't see that. I think there will be a volcano go. I think there'll be a lot of volcanoes that will be going off, and the one in Yellowstone will go off, but it won't be a super volcano. It's gone off a couple major times in history, many thousands of years back, BC, and pretty much wiped out the Earth. And we're going to look at how it's not comets that hit the Earth that have caused problems. It's solar from the sun, solar energy that's impacted, and not maybe there's been some debris that's happened, but not on the level that has caused the problems that we've seen in the past. Catastrophism, right? So that used to be something that was studied all. Just like today, where you have everybody that's like, no, there's no catastrophism. That's bullshit. Those people are compromised, right? They've been compromised by the system. They have to do that. Otherwise, they're killed, right? So for the most part, especially, or they lose their credentials, they can't teach in universities anymore, and anywhere they show up, they're like vilified and so forth. So we're going to look at the real information, guys, because that's what I'm all about. Gets taken down, right? So that's where we're at. So let's look at a little bit more of this. I'm going to play some videos. These videos will give you deeper insights of what's actually happening, and I think that's really where we need to go at this point. So let's look at this one.
Welcome to the new government tracking of the Earth's magnetic pole shift. The brand new site is up and kicking and much better than the old one. We're running the magnetic North Pole motion here, slowly traipsing around northern Canada for a few centuries, and then the acceleration. The magnetic pole shift is a cyclical event on Earth, and it's pretty major. NOAA experienced it. They line up with the young...
So NOAA experienced the cyclical movement of the poles shifting. So this happens. There's, as you guys are going to see, there's scientific evidence within the crust, within all over the world. There's mentions of it, like he's talking about with Noah, biblical references, ancient texts, and so forth. I've talked about this for a long time now. You see here this rapidization of the pole movement, and it normally moves throughout time. As you guys can see, going back to 1831 is where it made a major move, and then it started to accelerate. So the acceleration, as it intensifies and gets closer to the point where it's not 100 years, it's not a decade of movement, it's not a year of movement, it's not a month of movement, it's a week's movement that normally took 100 years. It's moving in a week, and then it goes to 1 day, and then we have a very short period of time before this thing, turns into catastrophe.
Dryas catastrophe, the last glacial maximum, and every Heinrich event in the last 50,000 years. Major losses of species come with every event, and earlier today, in the morning show, we covered 2 special reports by Alatra, a collection of scientists who have also come to the conclusion we're about to experience Earth's disaster cycle. Now, I want to be clear, I have major questions about this group and especially their ringleader, but when they cite their sources, I can review it myself, and there is a lot of good stuff in here. That's what I'm going to show you. In the first report, they identify the fact that there are magnetic anomalies, not just climatological ones, and that can't be blamed on human pollution. In fact, we're seeing changes on the other planets too. It's a solar system shift. But it was the other report that really spun me sideways yesterday, and we're going to go over key points and then 2 scary points I mentioned this morning. So first, excellent job identifying the fact that Earth's rotation speed is increasing, shortening the length of a day. It's another thing you can't blame on humans. They break down the 1990s pole shift event that sent us from losing 5% of the field per century to 5%.
That's right. He did say there's a shortening of the days. It's a scientific fact. Boy, I've been feeling that. I was like, geez. This summer just went by like a blink of an eye. We have less than a few weeks left of summer. Feels like it's fall here already. It's very cool. Temperature's like 69 right now. It gets down into some nights it gets down into the 40s already, and this is summer. So yeah, it's part of this pattern. We're going to see some cold temperatures this year into next year, and it's part of the polar movement. It's moving, and at some point it moves, and we will see those 3 days of darkness that have been talked about, throughout time as well. A lot of people have been discussing that. Some people been saying they're going to just shut everything down so they could give us information about the deep state. No, there's really going to be 3 days of darkness.
every decade, and which shot the movement of the poles into overdrive, along with it taking an abrupt and unexpected 90-degree turn. In a brand new Earth change for the list, they found a paper I missed from 2017 highlighting a molten jet stream in the core, and it's speeding up, which nobody subscribed to my channel finds surprising, I imagine. And of course, their main point was that they think the major event of this cycle will be the reawakening of the Siberian traps. And
all right, so he's talking about this Siberian. He doesn't believe this is going to happen. But if we go through time, of course, we see Santorini exploded, Vesuvius, you go Krakatoa, Mount Pinatubo, and lots of others. But the big one, like I talked about, Yellowstone, 640,000 BC. And also 210,000, or is that 2,100,000 BC? Yeah, so that's way back. So this is, this has happened in the past. We see the ramifications of that, how it just blasted huge area out. That's not, I don't believe that will happen again, and neither does this gentleman, but there will be others. There will be others. So I believe that Campo Flegrei, like I said, over here by Vesuvius is going to be the next one. That's going to be a super volcano, and it's really starting to act up. It's only a matter of time. I think it's a very short period of time before it blows, and that's going to be very devastating, obviously, for that area and for a good piece of the world, because usually when a super volcano goes off, it cools temperatures down very much.
oh boy, I hope not. It was the greatest volcanic event in Earth's history. It erupted for 1,000,000 years, changed the planet forever. But it was the next two images I'm going to show from the report that really caught my attention. I'm not actually too worried about the Siberian traps. First, this is what I was trying to explain to you guys a couple weeks ago. The magnetic pole shift progression is not linear. It goes up and down year to year, but with a long-term trend towards that acceleration and the pole shift. Outstanding identification here of that moment of acceleration where we started shifting 10 times faster. That is easily visible on the magnetic pole motion tracker. The dots are year by year, so if they're closer together, pole is moving slower, further.
So, as you guys can see, back in the 1980s, 70s, 60s, going back to 1948, the dots are almost touching. It just moves very slowly, and it starts to accelerate in the year 2000, probably a little bit the late 90s. It started to accelerate, 2007. Now, when it starts to slow down a bit, once it hits like one of these turns, curves, like you see over here, then that's usually when it accelerates, and he talks about that.
Apart means the pole is moving faster, and that's the speed up right there. I went ahead and actually did maximum velocity plots going backwards so you can see how before the 1850s everything was nominal, normal pole motion. The weakening had begun, but this is when the pole shift in total began. Now, going along with this is something I noticed in their motion minus Chandler wobble graphic. Folks, I live and breathe this data, and at no point did I ever think to do this. I had long suspected that the major accelerations occur after the slowdowns, like it's taking a breath, gearing up to lurch forward again. Folks.
So you ever go around a curve, how you slow down? So it looks like that's where we're at right here. And then you speed back up. So we're probably going to see this thing speed back up. Now, there are things that are happening that are possible anomalies that can happen and have happened probably in the past that sped the process up. And we're going to talk about that, how there's been a couple supernovas. One supernova is a bad thing. Two supernovas, which we've just had, as you guys can see, things seem to be speeding up, and that's probably from the supernovas that have, are starting to impact us.
So that's exactly what is shown here. And there is no good way to mathematically or even qualitatively show this without first removing the Chandler wobble, which I never thought to do. After every single slowdown, which all include a curvature of the motion vector, there is a major leap forward in speed and progress in the magnetic pole shift. And yes, it's clear we just had our curve in the vector, the slowdown or stalling of speed acceleration, and that means there is only one thing coming next. The major concern is, of course, that this will be the acceleration that...
All right, so we're going to go into where he thinks the poles are going to be. They're obviously going to be not where they're at now because they shift, they move. There's going to be a major pole movement, shifting that's going to happen, and that's going to be very problematic for the denizens of Earth, right? Now, will we have, some space alien bubbles come and help us out this time because their consciousness is raised? I don't know. It depends on as these energies come in, if we have a super freak out, right? So I believe that's happened in the past. And that's one of the reasons why they try to do the COVID-19 take out a lot of people vaccination, because people get crazy. You get a lot of people on Earth, on the Earth's surface. Of course, there's denizens of Earth within the Earth. The Hopi talk about this. They say they were taken in to inner Earth during the last cataclysm, and now they're predicting this next cataclysm that's coming. Because they've been around a while, and they work with the space bubbas, all right? So they got taken into inner Earth because their consciousness, I guess, was of a good enough quality that they were invited in. They came back to the surface after everything was livable again, and they live on in Arizona. They live high in a mountain still, right? And they have the Kachina dolls. I used to have a bunch of Kachina dolls. They're pretty cool. But I went to their reservation. I toured their kivas, which are basically it's kind of like a mock-up of them going down into the ground. There's like a little hole in the middle of the kiva, and they're underground. You go in there, meditate. They're pretty cool. Hopi, pretty cool. The American Indians aren't going to tell you everything. Because if they've learned the hard way that if they give out too much information, then Catholic priests and nuns come and beat them to death and take their children, and armies come and show up. Kind of like what happened to me when I started talking about alien stuff, guys. I was like, the CIA's like has some kind of group that's like that gets you killed, right? So will the extraterrestrials help us out? Yes, they will some. I'm not saying that I'm going to be one of them. I don't know if I've reached that level of consciousness. I think so, maybe. But I can guarantee you, like that video I showed you yesterday where those people were beating each other inside of Walmart, they won't be invited. They will not be invited. All right, so we'll see a lot of these people probably perish from the Earth change events that are coming. So it's already going to take out a lot of people. There's going to be cleanup from that. There will be, tearing out of hair and gnashing of teeth and clawing of skin and all that kind of stuff that happens when these things happen. But they will continue. All right. You can get all discombobulated by it, but if you do, then you're probably going to get taken by the next wave of whatever happens. So you need to be heads up. As you guys know, I give you heads up way before it happens. And economies collapse, earthquakes happen, tsunamis happen, volcanoes happen on a massive scale. That's coming. It is part of what we're going to see. You're in Glacier Peak Wilderness in Washington State, beautiful area, right? Montana is obviously has survived through a lot of these, but it's going to get super cold, right? The northern climes will get really, really cold, right? So it'll be survival mode for a lot of people that decide to stay in those areas. Where were the warm places to be? You're going to have to find that out over time. All right, because this can shift, this can move, this can happen quicker than we thought, or will we have more time to react to it? So all of these things are gonna come into play as we move forward. So here's some more information. This is Stefan Burns. He talked about this a month ago. Supernovas and dramatic climate shifts. So we're starting to see climate shifts already. We're starting to see a lot of this stuff, and it could be not just because these two supernovas, and they're labeled V462 Lupi and V572 Velorum. And so this is June of 2025. So that's when we started getting the supernova energies from these two, and that's very unusual. So they're going to talk about it.
Knowing that climate anomaly on the South Pole and have you just kind of share your thoughts. This will be our intro to kind of what you're talking about. But here I'm sharing climate reanalyzer, and we're looking at the 2-meter temperature anomaly over and around Antarctica right now. So can you tell us about these nova explosions and maybe tie it into what we're seeing here? And then we'll lead in, I think, to the Cat's Eye Nebula.
Sure. So over the last month, I reckon June 12th is when they recognized the arrival of the energies from 462 Lupi, and it had gained, it grew in magnitude to become brighter and brighter over the next couple weeks, and then it was followed up with V572, and both of them are.
So supernovas are extreme energy coming off the sun. It could be a sun exploding. Usually that's what supernova is. And, of course, it sends off. Just imagine our sun, all the energy we get from our sun. Imagine our sun going into supernova. It would obliterate us, right? Now, there has been micronovas from the sun, and they have caused some of these events. There's been novas from the sun, and some of these novas are triggered by these types of events. Now, we know that we are normally talked about as being not a single sun system, but throughout most of the galaxies and so forth, there's binary and trinary systems. That means 2 and 3 suns. We are a binary system. You've heard of Nibiru. Basically, Nibiru comes through on a cycle as well, about 3,000 years or so. And when it comes through, it can activate the sun as well. And we get some real crazy stuff happen when Nibiru comes through. Now, is Nibiru near, or is Nibiru on an out cycle? There's been a lot of people have talked about that over time. I felt that it was kind of on the other side of the sun. So I don't know. Is it causing problems right now? It could be. It could be part of the cycle. And because it comes through every 3,000 years, it doesn't necessarily always cause a super cycle of catastrophic events. So we're gonna have these guys are gonna talk a little bit about some of the other things that are out there. So a lot of people thought that Nibiru was coming in. Nibiru was supposed to come in I don't know, 15 years ago, 2012-ish, before that time frame. It did not. So it's either being held, it's back, or it's just a big hoax, right? I don't believe it's a hoax because it's talked about again and ancient histories and books and so forth. A lot of psychics have seen it. I've seen it in its cycles and so forth. So whether it's causing this coming pole shift or whatever, I don't know. But something's going to cause it, right? Something is stirring up the sun, Is it these two supernovas have gone off? Is it just part of a larger cycle? That's the big question.
Southern Hemisphere. And part of the principal notion in my project has been whatever solution explains these climate anomalies should be directionally oriented. It should be relevant when you have things like the medieval warm period that's a northern climate anomaly. And the records within the ice cores, both north and south, show a disparity in the timing of the events and how that energy hits the earth and transfers through. So when we see...
All right, so this is an over-hour conversation. So they go into a lot of these anomalies that are happening right now. And they go back throughout centuries, thousands of years, and so forth, and what causes them. Very, very interesting conversation. We're going to see a disaster cycle. That's a given. It's not if, it's when. Is it going to be, before 2030? It's going to be up to 2050. But every time we have these disaster cycles, there's a work up to it. All right. You feel that Nibiru is on the other side of the sun too? Yeah, Terry. I felt that I've seen something that's peeking around occasionally. It's at the 2 o'clock position where I used to see it, but I haven't seen it quite some time. So it's either back there hanging or it's just whatever, So I'm not getting wrapped up in it. What I want right now is information of when these next major events are going to come. We're already in the process of the major events happening, right? It's not going to slow down. It's going to speed up. Now, it may not peter out, but it may go sideways for a little bit and then pop. So we're going to continue to see this cycle of destruction increase over time. So now the prayers and so forth are going to be for you to be in a safe area. Maybe some of the area where you're at for a period of time can be calmed. I think that's a possibility. I think that's been done in the past. It will give you insights of where to be. Like it gave me insights of where to be. I've been early in this cycle as far as like my seeing it coming. Am I early in it still? Could be. And if that's the case, that's great because it gives everybody more time to prepare. So, but regardless, you're going to have to start to, shift your thought process into this disaster cycle that's coming, but not to the point where you're just obsessed with it. So there's a lot of people get obsessed with this. People have been talking about this for 50 plus years, guys. Now, it could accelerate, obviously, where I think we're in the acceleration phase. So now it's time to really start to get the conversations going and, working together, planning this out. Now, are there underground facilities that have been prepared? We know that the military has been doing massive underground facilities, and also the good guy military has been cleaning out the bad guys. Maybe that's anticipation for us to inhabit that, because that's happened in the past. We can see in Turkey where there's been multiple levels. I think there's like 15 or 16 different levels. They go thousands of feet deep into the ground where people, I think it was like 20,000 people lived underground in Turkey, obviously during one of these cycles. So now, how much of this disaster is going to, and where is it going to, affect certain areas the most? And that's where I think we need to really focus.
Who's aware that the North Pole is shifting over time?
You look at the electromagnetic field around the Earth that is getting weaker and weaker. It looks like we've got 15, maybe 25 years.
Here's what we know. About every 6,000 years, there is a geomagnetic change on our planet. Every other cycle, or every 12,000 years, it's really, really bad.
The northern lights were a sight to see over Florida.
When you start seeing auroras down in Florida, okay, we got a problem.
Everybody who could possibly be in the know is acting like they know exactly what's coming.
What do they know that we don't know, right? I mean, they're building these underground apollo. Is this just the natural human nature towards thinking that these are the end times?
Finally tonight, Branson versus Bezos. Who will be first to make it into space?
You do have a bunker there. Is there something you know that we don't?
No, I think that's just like a little shelter under, and it's like a
basement. Little shelter. What are you worried about?
The disaster is the complete destruction of what we call civilization. When it does go off, you're talking about 5,000 degrees Kelvin right here on the surface.
Everybody subconsciously knew something was about to happen. And I think that that's sort of where this great awakening is coming from. When this thing really gets going, it's speeding up to 100 times faster than how much it's moving now. 5% per decade, 5% per year, to 5% every couple of weeks. At that point, you only have a couple of months left.
All right, so where's that couple of months, right? We don't want to be caught flat-footed on that, right? We want to start this disaster cycle preparation sooner rather than later. It's going to be very interesting, as we move forward. There's going to be a lot of people that, don't believe in it. They'll probably perish. And there's going to be a lot of people that discount even when they see massive, cataclysmic events happening. They're still going to discount it. So this has happened throughout time. You look back on Noah. Noah's like, you better get on the boat. You better get on the boat. You better help me build the boat. Help me build the boat. I'll build it bigger for everybody. And they're like, get out of here. And then, the disaster came. So we're in the disaster cycle, same disaster cycle. It happens over time. 6,000, 12,000 years, a super baddie. All right. Just like 12,000 years ago, there was basically Atlantis went under the seas, like Plato talked about when he was talking to Saron or whatever his name was in Egypt. The Egyptians basically knew all this. They had records of it, and they saw it, right? So there's information on that as well. So we'll look at, I think I have some of that stuff on Egypt for you guys too. So I put together a lot of stuff for this, and hopefully that's part of it. We'll see. So here's a little bit more. Earth disasters coming, all the evidence, also space weather news, suspicious observers, also a site that you can look at for more information.
Earth enjoys long, quiet eras commanded by the slow grind of wind, rain, and geology. These periods are punctuated by a recurring catastrophe. We're coming to the end of one of these calm periods, and a disaster is coming. By combining millennia of evidence, centuries of study, and the modern capabilities of technology, we can answer the challenge to explain all the evidence of Earth's disaster cycle, and we have all the tools to track the next one. The Earth is about to do something it hasn't done for thousands of years. The magnetic poles are shifting. The strength of Earth's magnetic field is fading. There are magnetic changes throughout the solar system and on the sun. We're going to be showing you stories of this cycle of disaster that will visit us again soon. This story is told several ways, and here you're going to hear them all. We'll begin with the pole shift. It's real, and it's going to happen. In fact, it's already happening. There's a major shift. So that's magnetic shift evidence on all the planets, and yes, we've got it on the sun as well. There is a noticeable coronal magnetic field shift and a corresponding helium chemistry change. If the galactic magnetic reversal is impacting the entire solar system, we should see those magnetic changes on all the planets and the sun from some other star.
All right, so he goes through all of these different stories, and he adds to them. magnetic shift cycle. Rock, it's in the rock. It's in the fossils. It's there. Geologists can see it. If you do your own research, you can see it as well for yourself. Galactic magnetic reversal pattern. We can see where the poles have shifted over time. Solar system magnetic shift, star activation, observations throughout time, throughout history, through the stories, and so forth.
Slosh around. Einstein and several others agreed that it would be the unlocking of the crust from the mantle that would cause the shift, but they couldn't figure out how. How do you unlock the crust? With modern evidence, we now know that the crust is locked with a thermoelectric equilibrium, and scientists already know the sun's impacts induce electric current into the mantle, right through that crust-mantle boundary. The solar micronova surges enough of that current to disrupt the thermal and electrical aspects of that thermoelectric equilibrium, unlocking the crust. So, the micronova is also needed to finally finish the stories of the catastrophist claims that the Earth tilts, turns, and triggers massive tsunamis. Interestingly, several scientists in Einstein's time also did the math on what would happen if they could unlock the crust. The ice weight at the polar region would want to spin at the equator, the point of greatest centrifugal force, and the greatest bulk of ice happens to want to tilt Earth such that Greenland would end up at the equator, and so would the portion of Antarctica that is south of Australia. This would put the Bay of Bengal in the Indian Ocean and Peru at the north and south poles, which is exactly what was predicted long ago by several other catastrophists who didn't have that ice math from Einstein's time, which is absolutely amazing. But it's not just a two-way coincidence there. The magnetic poles are already moving, as we mentioned, and they are set to meet one another, to collide in the Bay of Bengal, with Peru, of course, being on the opposite side of the planet. If the planet tilts as previously predicted, and as the later math would suggest it will just so happen to put the magnetic poles back at the north and south geographic pole. That's perhaps the greatest coincidence of them all, and yet, just another on our list. The story grows even more interesting when we realize that religious texts and mythological stories say exactly this will happen, from the earth swaying to and fro like a drunkard, to the black sun and days of darkness, which would be caused by the material accumulating on the sun before the micronova, to the great waves and floods and fire and volcanoes and the loss of species. Now, how in the world do those old stories now match the science? Not only the science, but the humanity as well. The culture of us humans today makes the entire world seem like one giant Sodom and Gomorrah. The rise of satanic degeneracy, the loss of traditional moral values. It is exactly as was written. So they predict what modern science predicts, and even down to how humans will behave. Honestly, how many of these coincidences are we supposed to ignore? Well, let's add on another one. It seems the governments and elites are preparing for exactly this. They are acting recklessly because they know there will be no reckoning. They are spending like there's no tomorrow because on a realistic timeline, there isn't one. Governments are digging underground, and elites like Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos are expanding their options. Bezos is digging out a mountain in the Sierra Diablos right across the street from his Blue Origin launch facility. And Elon Musk has SpaceX and the Boring Company. Celebrities and billionaires are buying doomsday bunkers at a surprising rate. Even Andrew and Tristan Tate are building one in Romania. Folks, most of science is one vector, one line of evidence, and then best estimations or guesses about what it means. This is not most science. It is the same story told by Earth's history, paleoclimatology, paleomagnetism, fossils, sediment, solar system physics, astrophysics, galactic physics, modern observations.
All right, so I know a lot of you guys are familiar with the Iliad and the Odyssey. So I read those as a teenager, fascinated by those. When I do the past life stuff, I have memories of being in those time frames. All right, so now Homer, they're not quite sure when those were written. Of course, he was writing about an occurrence that happened previously. Now, they're supposedly 9th, 8th century BCE, and so that's roughly 3,000 years ago. So in the Iliad, they talk about how the sun stayed in the sky during a several day period, and they were able to fight longer. And then there was cataclysmic events that happened. Rivers burst from their banks and all kinds of crazy stuff. We know that the walls of the Iliad, or not the Iliad, but wherever they're fighting, the Greeks and the Trojans, Troy. So the walls of Troy, of course, they put they had the Trojan horse that went in, all these different things. Now, when they were finished with their battle, they went back, and that's the Odyssey. So the Odyssey, it took them 10 years to get back home. I think that was an exaggeration. It's kind of like, it's way out there, it's like way out there. What it'll take us a year to get there. Yeah, way out there. So, that's kind of what that is. I think the Iliad, the Trojan War, it took 7 or 9 years, whatever. And then the Odyssey was 7 to 9 years for them to get back. It was a long time, right? So it wasn't, I think, that many years. But who knows? Maybe it was a long period of time because of, one of those cycles, right? So when they calculated when the sun stayed up in the sky and they were able to fight for days, on the other side of the world, in Mayan country, they speak of the sun not setting for 3 days. So it sounds like the earth stood still, right? So and this could be part of one of the patterns or whatever. So there is evidence in history of these things. Of course, Noah's Ark, is one of them. And there's flood stories, I think, in 70 different cultures. It's insane. They suppress this stuff, guys, for a long time, and it's so that the elite, are the people, the delete, the people that should be deleted. Unfortunately, they have a lot of the information, so we can't delete them. Crapheads, right? So, and they've already planned everything out. They've got all their survival stuff. It's like, dang, we gotta rely on these jackasses. But maybe not. Maybe consciousness is rising enough to the point where we can, break free. I have Italian in me, so I'm very expressive, and the hand motion makes the camera go crazy. So it's part of awakening. Can we awaken soon enough, fast enough to do more than just survive, to the point where the elite come back and it's like, oh, look, we have crops, we have animals, and we're gods to you, and blah blah blah. So screw that, So this time, let's make them stay outside and we go inside. We'll just raid their little indoor places. Zuckerberg. So the elites are concerned about their security. They should be. All right. So when their security figures out, they basically kept all that information themselves, so other people would die, so they have to deal with them. Maybe that security won't be so watching over them, right? So that is definitely some of the things that we're looking at now. Safe zones. We're going to be covering this, of course. I'll be covering this, until we don't have internet again, I guess. Right? So, again, because I believe they had it back during Atlantean time. So, if we continue to inform each other, this is a little edgy stuff. It's outside the norm of most people, their understanding. Because everybody's been dumbed down about this stuff. Oops, not one I wanted. All right, but yep, there's Homer. All right, or the way they thought he looked. And now I think that Homer wrote about this stuff long after it happened. So they're saying 8th, 9th century. I think it was hundreds of years later that he wrote about it. Those are my thoughts, but I believe I'm right, because I have insights on some of this past life stuff. So it's part of, like I said, the cycle of remembering and knowing and so forth that we're going to be going through. Some of us are going to remember. I remember all this stuff. Some of us are just going to be like, well, what's coming? What can I do? And that's good. That'll be good going forward as well. Because we want people with skills. We want good people to survive, of course. And that's why we look at stuff like this.
Going to happen. But you're going to be able to apply the things you see me doing here for the United States, Europe, and Australia to wherever it is in the world that you live.
So he's coming out with a new video, supposed to release this fall, where he's going to cover a lot of this stuff in detail. But he's covered a lot of this stuff already. So he's just mainly going to be focusing in this video, and I'm going to kind of jump around in it, on the United States. But he does cover a little bit of Europe, Australia. And I've said that Australia, I think, is going to be, they've been through this before. The Aboriginal cultures have memories of this, and they talk about how they escaped to the inland, and that's why they're nomadic, because, like I'm talking about, I don't know that I'm going to be staying in the location I'm at. I could go nomadic, which is pretty much the way I've been pretty much my whole life. But the Aboriginals in Australia are nomadic, and they talk about how the coastline, basically, through many of these cycles, has been impacted in a very negative way, and the coastline goes deep inland, and that's what we're going to see around the world.
So, first things first, if you have not watched those 2 videos that are listed down there below the title, they are linked below the video. They are going to answer 99% of the questions that you have, and many of the ones that you didn't know that you have. Before you watch this video, you really need to have done the homework. Watch those 2 videos. They are 19-minute videos. It is not going to take you very long. And if you line on here, and here we're going to be talking about the before. There's really not too many places that you can't survive without electricity in the summertime. Okay, for those who have certain health conditions, maybe parts of Arizona, and parts of Texas, parts of New Mexico, it would be a real struggle in the summertime without AC. But in North America, really the big thing is cold in the wintertime. If it wasn't for our industrialized society, if it wasn't for electricity, or the ability to ship coal or kerosene or other lighter fluid around, a vast majority of this place would be very, very challenging to live in, or it would be something even worse than that. And so the reason why we have a little hitch there in the Rockies is because that elevation obviously makes it colder. There are parts, for example, right there where that little hitch is at the highest part of the Rocky Mountains in Colorado. There are parts of eastern Colorado that don't get nearly as cold as parts of western Colorado at the exact same latitude, mostly because there's several thousand feet of elevation change there. And so it doesn't mean if you live north of this line, oh, you're screwed even in the before times. What it means is if you live above or north of this blue line, what you need to be thinking about is, okay, if we lose electricity, if basically shiz has hit the fan, the sun throws out a major CME, we lose power, and we have 10 years to go before the Earth flips, after which it's fine. You know, the United States and Canada are both going to be in pretty good places after that. In fact, the new equator is going to run through parts of Canada. But before that, you need to be asking yourself, can I survive 10 years of winter with no electricity, not an industrialized society? And you really need to be asking that question most north of that blue line. During the disaster, and this is when, you know, the vast majority of the survivors of that first little part, even if we get 10 years of no power and no industrialized society before the zenith of the disaster. During the disaster is, of course, when an enormous portion is going to fall. And here, this is where the elevation matters most. Don't forget, this round, the waters around North America are going to be moving northward. And so you've got the Gulf of Mexico and the Atlantic absolutely ready to batter the eastern part of the country here. It's going to be really, really rough. Last time when the waves came the other way, the Rocky Mountains could not contain the Pacific. They broke through, and there are sediments that washed into the Gulf of Mexico.
Now, if you've been through, like I've done the Pacific Crest Trail, and it starts down in Mexico, there is, as you see here, mountains in Mexico. See that little cut right there? There's the mountains of Mexico, which it seems to be a semi-safe area, and then the mountains of California and Colorado and so forth. Here's Arizona over here, of course Texas, and there's this area right through here. Now, when I did, like I said, the Pacific Crest Trail started the Mexican border, it was very lowland, and so it would not surprise me. And of course, that area is right next to Arizona, so it's not surprising to me that when the tsunamis hit, they went through and basically impacted all the way over here into Arizona and Texas. So crazy, but these are the levels of the tsunamis that we're looking at happening. Just like I've talked about how I had dreams the last time I was here in South Lake Tahoe, and when I would go up into Mount Shasta, I was thinking about moving to Mount Shasta for a while. I had dreams that I was like driving at high speed in my car up to the top of, there's like a road that goes way up the mountain, up Mount Shasta, and I was driving at high speed up to that road in the dream, and as the tsunamis were coming. And then when I was in last time I was here in Lake Tahoe on the southern end, I was dreaming where I was running right outside my house. There's a road that goes, it's Ski Run Boulevard, and it runs straight up, and I was dreaming that I was running at high speed up that hill to escape the tsunami that was like crashing up from Western California and actually impacting and rushing into Lake Tahoe. Where I'm at right now, I feel very comfortable. I'm at a high enough elevation if that would happen, so I don't have to run. But these are some of the things you have to be looking for going forward. Now, I was seeing these tsunamis a while back, so obviously they didn't happen the next day. Are they going to happen anytime soon? No, I don't think so. Not yet. Although I did predict this August, or sometime where it's still hot here in California, that there was going to be pretty decent sized tsunami. Not the big one, but a pretty big one. So I still see a very, very massive tsunami, 1,000-footer. I still see all of the fault lines in California going off. I still see volcanoes up and down the coast of the West Coast going off, but not all at once, right? So this will be over a period of time, and these disasters will happen progressively. They'll get more intense as time moves on, as the poles, increase in velocity as far as movement. This is when we're going to see the really, really massive one, the 3 days of darkness, and then everything basically go into catastrophic mode. 10 years, he says. 10 years where you're going to have to be able to survive cold and so forth, and then the poles finally shift for the last time, and they reach their final spot. So he talks a little bit more about, as you guys can see here, you see the darkness. That's over on the West Coast. I've always liked the West Coast because not as many people, but the level of people here on the East Coast, they're going to head for the Appalachian Mountains. They're going to be overrun with people, so it's not going to be a good place to survive. He talks about that, and all these blue areas, low-lying areas, are going to be inundated for a great extent. So he talks about, places where it's going to be safe. We've talked about this quite a bit. Europe, again, the population density, when all the lights go out, there's no power, all these different things, this is going to get cray, right? So the Vikings obviously, did really well during these time frames. They survived well. And then once everything started to warm back up, they came out and started raiding, right? But for the most part, I've heard that Moscow, Russia does really well going forward. And I think Russia has done a lot to prepare. They have underground facilities and so forth. So here you see the high points of Alps and so forth that he talks about, potential areas for survival. But you have that population density. They're all going to be heading for the mountains. It's going to be, or not all of them will survive, but that's not going to be good. Now you have a place like Australia, which here you see the population density is all along the coast, and then inland, plenty of room inland. Like I said, the Aborigines have survived several times, and then you have high ground within Australia, as you see here, lots of high ground. And I don't know if they're still skiing. I think they're still skiing down there. New Zealand and Australia, they're still skiing, but not as much. It's because as we go into the grand solar minimum, guys, the poles start to lock up a lot of the ice or a lot of the water. So the cold comes, but you don't have rain. When we have warmth, we have lots of moisture. It melts the polar ice caps, which they've been lying to us. They're not melting, and it brings in a lot of water. So we have a lot of drought that's going on in the world. Of course, we had a lot of flooding, but these are the extremes we're going to be going through. Now, here's where he's going to start to show about the where the polar caps are going to be located.
In the currently southern portion of South America that could be survivable. There are areas in China and eastern Russia and certainly Mongolia that are going to be habitable. But again, I didn't want to take the time to do the entire world right here. And also Africa is a different story because you have a fourth major concern. In addition to the population density, the tsunami risk, and the weather concerns, you also have to be thinking about the absolutely devastating cultural scenario of where you might be.
All right, so cultural. So he talks about the cultural. So pretty much Africa, lots of warring going on there. They slaughter each other pretty significantly. Probably not going to be a lot of survival going on in Africa. So just be aware of where you're at, the areas they're at. If they're violent now, and the troops come in, if they can't quell it, it's going to get really bad, right? When these things start to really happen, start to pick up pace. Now, I might have missed where he had the polls. Let me see. Go back. Might have been another video. So I had another video where I had, unfortunately, because I had them stacked up and maybe they were on top of each other, and I missed it. But there was another video where they talk about Egypt and how in Egypt there was some kind of electrical force that came in, and I think the Grand Canyon is the same thing. There was electrical force that came from the sun, and maybe Nibiru coming through as well. created a massive electrical event that basically made the Grand Canyon, right? It wasn't water over time, because some of the hardest rock in the world is in the Grand Canyon, and water's not going to make that, dissipate. Not over 1 million years would it have made that. So there was one where they talk about how in Egypt they found some of this super lightning, not lightning like we have on Earth, but a lightning that obviously came from the sun and impacted the Earth, electrical charge, and some of that remnant of some of that cut the back end of the Sphinx off, and they can show where that happened. So they talk about the different things that, electrical energies and so forth that have happened throughout time, and how they can find those. So again, the energies, the Egyptians knew about it. They got impacted by it. They talk about it in a lot of their text. They worship the sun, all right? And so, because please, sun, don't do that to us again. But and then the Romans, they had sun worship. Sunday is still a worship of the sun guys, right? The Christians said they're gonna, because Constantinople was a sun worshiper, and so everybody attributes Constantine to having, in his deathbed, he's like, I accept that's all bullshit, of course, but he says, I accept the Christian faith as my number one. And on his deathbed, he didn't do it before that, but on his deathbed, he accepted, the Christian faith. So that's part of, again, the suppression of information over time, integrating it into lies and misdirection and so forth. They have little pieces of it here and there, like Sunday, right? Sun worship for the Romans, sun worship for the Egyptians, because the sun obviously does impact us throughout time. All right. Thank you, Tron Master. And so we're going to continue to see this information come out. We're going to see some people are just going to be like, mouth open, eyes wide, not knowing what the hell's going on. You're going to try and inform them. The sun is going through a period of time where it's going to knock the hell out of Earth, right? And all these things are going to start to happen, and they're just not going to get it, right? It's just like they didn't get don't do the COVID shot, or Democrats are bad. They're going to steal all your money and ruin your cities. They just don't get it. They don't care, because Democrats give them whatever they want, and that's all they want. It was keep people happy, and the Democrats in the elite will be like back walking into the door that goes to the tunnel system that goes down, and then they come back and do their bullshit again to us. No, let's stop these bastards. Right? Let's stop these bastards for keeping us dumbed down. Right? We need to build our consciousness and understand all this stuff, and stop this stuff. Stop them taxing us, spending our money, and building their underground shelters and all that stuff. Eventually, we die off again. All right, the good people of Earth. All right, guys. That's all I got. It was a massive reveal today. I worked on this all day long, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. Come back to it. Send your peeps to it. Get some information. Do your own research. It will be very important going forward. Your health obviously will be important going forward. Get into stem cell technology through LifeWave so that you survive right, going forward. You're healthy and can continue. Will LifeWave go into the future? I think so. I think we're going to basically find some safe areas. We're going to commingle and make sure the good people go forward. And if not, oh well. All right, we've been slaughtered before. I don't think it's going to happen this time. All right. Lots of love. Stay in the love vibration, and I will see you guys next time.